My name's Karyn Kusama, and I am the director of the film Destroyer. I've always appreciated, I've appreciated sort of epic crime stories where you sort of have to you kind of have to dig in with a bunch of characters. And I felt like this movie offered me that opportunity. Every movie, I'm sort of like, am I fit for the job? And, you know, of course, the jury's always out, but I kind of felt like there's just something that called to me about this movie. There's a reason we love these stories. There's a reason they're so popular. And women share in that appreciation as much as men do, sometimes even more, I think we're discovering. And so for me, I think it was just, I saw it as an opportunity to just sort of bring, not necessarily a, quote, female voice to the mix, but my voice. And so I hope that there's a sensitivity to the character that feels like I sort of knew her, maybe because I understood her on some instinctual female level. Part of what excited me about working with Nicole was that she really hasn't done this role before. And for me, I don't think I've seen anyone do this role before, really. I mean, it felt very fresh to me. And so the idea that she was going to tackle the animus and aggression and resentment of this character just excited me because she kind of couldn't be more different in real life. You know, she really is a true artist in that she sort of channels an energy and lives in that energy and then walks away at the end of the day. I mean, it's a tough thing to do, and I can't imagine it was easy on her while we were doing it, but it was exciting to be around. I'm getting the privilege to work with an artist who's really just sort of fully flowered as an artist and as an actor. It was really exciting. Erin Bell is an LAPD detective. She's been on the force for a while. She is clearly somebody who uses questionable means to achieve what it is she wants as a detective. She seems to be a bit kind of just generally a law enforcement gone rogue in terms of her overall demeanor. She's somebody who seems to kind of act on her own accord. Part of Erin's character in this very essential way is driven by shame, guilt, rage, and sorrow. And that can be a very toxic brew in a person for too long. And we see it in the way she moves, we see it on her face, we see the effects of years and years of abuse, self-neglect, self-hatred. And it's sort of, while it appears initially to be a kind of crime saga, it's really a saga into an individual's conscience and character. Erin Bell has a daughter, Shelby, and an ex-husband, Ethan, and negotiating her relationship with those two characters is tricky because she's actually not an involved parent, a somewhat absent parent, emotionally for sure, and as an ex-partner, probably not the easiest person to deal with. And so we kind of find her at a moment where she's realizing that her daughter has taken up with, her 16-year-old daughter's now with a guy who might be 25 years old. That gets under Erin's skin. And we just see her sort of take subtle steps to figure out how to separate them. And in some ways, it's a moment for me anyway, where I start to relate to her as a character because I see that she actually does want to protect her daughter. A lot of the makeup required a final layer of visual effects to just sort of finish and kind of make consistent the looks because, you know, we see Nicole in two different time frames. One when she's about 29 years old, 17 years before, and one when she's 46, 47, and a lot has happened in those ensuing 17 years, and she clearly hasn't taken care of herself at all and has really sort of declined. When we do see her at 29, she's more hopeful. She's kind of fresher, and she's beautiful, and there's some kind of wild, reckless enthusiasm for life in her. And we do see how that is sort of dovetailing with this relationship that starts somewhat professional, although I think when you're working in that kind of undercover environment, it's a blurred line between professional and personal, and because they were playing a couple, they sort of became a couple. And to see her really be in love and see that light in her eyes, and then see sort of what happens now that that's gone, what has happened to her, I feel like there's something really poignant about it. Chris is an undercover FBI agent who is paired with a younger Erin Bell, and at the time Erin Bell was a sheriff's deputy in a small desert town and was considered a local asset to infiltrating this kind of desert gang of drug dealer, potential bank robbers, kind of just a nasty crew. And so Chris and Erin are paired as a couple to work their way in personally into this gang. Sebastian Stan, for me, what I think is so beautiful about his performance is that he has a kind of no-nonsense, dependable guy feeling. There's something, initially we feel like he's going to sort of just take care of business. He's on a job. But he's comfortable enough in that kind of classic movie masculinity that as the movie progresses, we start to see that he's human. What I love about Toby Kebbell is he was kind of unafraid to play the part of Silas that was really small and kind of wormy and self-important and self-aggrandizing, but also just completely wrong. He really had that ability to just be kind of a slime ball. And I appreciate that he made a very conscious choice to go against, a kind of against what you might expect from that role. Tatiana Maslany, the actor who plays Petra, what I loved about her, I was a huge Orphan Black fan, and she was able and willing to basically play anyone. I mean, she just has this shapeshifter quality as an actor. And so when I talked to her about Petra, I just said, you know, the thing about this character is she's probably a girl who grew up in Beverly Hills and just fell off such a cliff and might have had a lot of damage, abuse, substance abuse in her life early enough to just push her off by the time she was 18. Jade Pettyjohn plays Shelby, who is Erin Bell's daughter, 16 years old. A little bit of a wild child, a little bit, I want to say she's estranged, she's angry and resentful of her mother. I think for Belle, when she looks at Shelby, it's complicated, it's complex. It's a reminder every day that she was probably the most responsible for Chris's death. And it all was born out of her hunger, her need, her greed. And that Shelby is also the only living reminder of Chris. And she lives in this tenuous relationship to pushing that reminder away and wanting to care and protect her.